The biggest mistake sellers make in a hot market. Low inventory sounds like great news when you're thinking about selling. Demand is strong, homes are moving. Sellers start hearing phrases like hot market and low supply, and it's easy to assume the hard part is already handled. That is where the mistake starts. A strong market can give you an advantage, but it does not make buyers careless. They still compare homes, they still judge condition, they still notice pricing, and most importantly, they still decide pretty quickly whether your home feels like the right choice or just another listing. So if you're thinking about selling in Minot, the question is not just, is the market good? The better question is, am I using this market correctly? Because the biggest mistake sellers make in a hot market is assuming demand will cover weak preparation. And that assumption can cost you momentum before you even realize it. A hot market does not mean an easy sale. A seller's market usually means there are more buyers than available homes. That is a good position to be in. It can mean more attention, fewer competing listings, stronger urgency, and better leverage if your home is positioned well. But some sellers take that information too far. They hear low inventory and start thinking buyers will overlook things they normally would not. A messy presentation feels less urgent to fix. Minor repairs get pushed aside. Pricing gets stretched because the market feels strong enough to support it. Then the listing goes live and buyer behavior tells a different story. Showings are slower than expected. Feedback feels vague. People look, but they do not move forward. Suddenly the seller is trying to solve a problem that should have been handled before the home ever hit the market. The market was not the problem, the strategy was. The overconfidence trap starts small. Most sellers do not make one mistake. It is usually a handful of smaller choices that add up. Maybe the home could use a few simple repairs, but they do not feel serious enough to handle right now. Maybe the photos are acceptable, but not strong enough to stop someone from scrolling. Maybe the list price is just a little ambitious, and the thought is, we can always come down later. None of that sounds unreasonable on its own. The problem is how buyers experience it. A buyer does not separate every little concern into its own category. They absorb the whole picture at once. If the price feels high and the photos feel flat, they start to hesitate. If the home shows signs of deferred maintenance, that hesitation grows. If there are other homes that feel easier to understand, yours starts slipping down the mental list. That is how a strong market can still produce weak results. Not because the buyer disappeared, because the listing gave them reasons to pause. Think about your house for a second. If it went live tomorrow, would buyers immediately understand the value, or would they have to work hard to see it? That answer matters more than most sellers realize. Buyers are still comparing everything. This is the part people forget. Even when inventory is low, buyers are not looking at your home in isolation. They are comparing it against what they saw last week, what they saved online last night, what their agent sent them this morning, and what they think might hit the market next. That comparison is happening fast. Photos create the first impression, price sets the expectation, condition either confirms the value or creates doubt. Once a buyer walks through the home, they're trying to decide whether the property feels clean, manageable, and worth the number attached to it. That does not mean your home has to be perfect. Perfect is not the goal. The goal is confidence. A buyer should feel like the home makes sense. When something feels off, even slightly, their brain starts searching for a reason. Momentum is easier to create than recover. The first stretch after a listing is critical. That is when the home is fresh. Online alerts go out, agents send it to active buyers. People who have been waiting for the right property finally have something new to consider. That early attention is valuable because it creates urgency. If the home is priced well, presented clearly, and easy to understand, buyers feel pressure to act. When the listing misses that window, the energy changes. A buyer may assume the price is too aggressive. Another person might wonder if inspection concerns are hiding underneath the surface. Someone else sees the days on market creeping up and starts thinking there's a story they've not figured out yet. That is not always fair, but it is real. Once buyers start creating their own explanation, you are no longer just selling the house. You are also trying to overcome doubt. A hot market does not reward every seller equally. It rewards the seller who are ready for attention when it arrives. That means the home looks right online, the price makes sense against the competition, the obvious distraction have been handled, the story of the property is clear enough that buyers know why they should care. This is where preparation matters. You do not need to renovate the entire house. You do not need to chase every trend. You do not need to turn your home into something it is not. But you do need to remove friction. That might mean touching up paint where the wear is obvious. It could mean fixing a loose fixture, decluttering rooms that feel smaller than they are, or making sure the photos actually show the home in its best light. The right preparation helps buyers stay focused on value instead of problems. Pricing is not just a number. Pricing is one of the easiest places to get overconfident in a strong market. A seller looks at low inventory and thinks there's room to push. Sometimes there is, but pushing the price only works when the rest of the listing supports it. If a buyer sees the price and immediately feels resistance, they may not negotiate. Many will just move on. That is the part sellers underestimate. They assume an interested buyer will make an offer and let the negotiation happen from there. In reality, plenty of buyers never take that first step if the home feels misaligned from the start. Pricing is not only about what you want, it is about where your home sits in the buyer's mind compared to every other option. Whether the number feels justified, buyers lean in. When it feels stretched, they wait. And waiting is dangerous because early momentum fades quickly. Presentation can make or break the first impression. The way your home shows online has a direct impact on activity. Buyers are making decisions before they even pull in the driveway. They see the first photo, they glance through the room shots, they notice whether the home feels bright, clean, easy to understand. If the listing looks rushed or cluttered, some buyers never even book the showing. That is painful, but it happens. A serious buyer is still a human being. They're scrolling, comparing, reacting, and deciding whether a property feels worth their time. Good presentation does not manipulate the buyer. It gives the home a fair chance. Bad presentation forces the buyer to work harder than they need to. And most people will not do that when another listing feels easier. Condition still matters. A seller's market does not erase repair concerns. It may reduce how much negotiating power buyers have in certain situations, but it does not stop them from noticing problems. Small things can carry more weight than sellers expect. A stain in the ceiling raises a question. Broken fixtures suggest the home has not been cared for. A cluttered basement makes people wonder about storage. An obvious repair left undone can make buyers wonder what else has been ignored. Again, the goal is not perfection. The goal is to prevent avoidable doubt. When buyers feel confident, they move faster. When they feel uncertain, they protect themselves. That protection can show up as a lower offer, a longer inspection list, or no offer at all. The real mistake. So the biggest mistake sellers make at a hot market is not pricing high by itself. It is not skipping one repair. It is not using just average photos. The real mistake is assuming the market will carry the parts of the listing that were never properly prepared. That mindset shows up quickly. It sounds like we probably do not need to do much. Buyers do not have many options anyways. Let's just see what happens. The last one is where sellers can get into trouble, because seeing what happens can be expensive when the first impression was the thing you needed to get right. What to do instead. Before you list, look at your home the way a buyer will experience it. Start online. Will the photos stop someone from scrolling? Then move to price. Does the number feel supported by the condition, location, and competition? After that, walk through the property without defending anything. What feels unfinished? What creates questions? Which rooms feel smaller than they should? Where would a buyer hesitate? That is where your strategy starts. Not with panic, not with over-renovating, just honest preparation. The sellers who do well in a strong market are usually not the ones who assume everything will work out. They're the ones who make it easy for buyers to say yes. Minot can absolutely be a strong market for sellers. Low supply helps. Demand matters. The right home, positioned correctly, can get serious attention. But the market does not replace preparation. It amplifies whatever you bring to it. If your home is priced well, presented clearly, and prepared intentionally, a strong market can work in your favor. If the listing starts with weak photos, avoidable doubts, or pricing that buyers do not understand, demand alone may not save the momentum. So before you list, do not just ask whether the market is hot, ask whether your home is ready to take advantage of it. That is where the difference is made. If you are thinking about selling in Minot, I break down the decisions that matter before your home goes live, so you can avoid learning expensive lessons after buyers have already formed an opinion.